way too expensive. So I just went 120 kilometers just to see this beautiful island and see what's the situation here.
What is this? What? Hey you.
Hey.
Do you speak English? Englano?
Yeah, I speak English. Sure.
Can you help me with this?
Yes, of course.
Do you speak Greek?
Yeah, I know Greek. It actually says that as long as there are teachers, there are gonna be students.
I decided to explore the wisdom the Greek gods bestowed upon me with the help of the monument stone. It's no coincidence that my female guide is called Athena, which means the Greek goddess of wisdom. Where else can I find wisdom than from the mentors themselves, the teachers? We set on an island quest to find the answers. How is life on Syros for the teachers? The picture became clearer with each conversation we had. Our first stop will be Hermopolis, where we will hopefully find some teachers that are willing to talk to us. We came across a young man sitting on the street, so we decided to talk to him, and we found out that he's a university teacher with interesting views on this topic.
I'm Syros. Pleasure to meet you. Hi, Syros. What do you do for a living? Nowadays I'm a tutor in the Royal College of Arts in England, in London. I used to be a tutor here at the University of the Aegean, the Department of Product and System Design Engineering, and sort of titles apparently. And now I'm waiting on my paperwork to get finished so I can go to the UK and work there. It's hard because I think in universities it's not just about the transfer of technical skills and employability. The managers and the rectors might tell you that it is because that's how we get evaluated, but it's not. It's about, creating scientists and citizens and people who are going to go to the world and make things better, whatever that might be. So it's hard. It's hard to work in neoliberal universities where these types of things are kind of not really part of the matters of concern of the university. Which it's not 100% true. For some universities they are very important. We live in a world that is much worse than the one that our parents had, like money-wise, environment-wise, So when this kind of capitalist narrative that if you work hard and apply yourself and keep working hard, you will succeed. Maybe that was true, maybe, but now this is, utter bullshit. It's not. For many reasons. How am I to feed you bullshit and tell you if you work hard and try you will succeed, when I know and I see people who work hard and try fail, not because they did something wrong, because the system is kind of rigged to help some types of people. Let's not say who they are. Let's just say, if you're a white cis male in this society, you're probably going to make it, whereas if you're not, it's going to be hard.
Yes.
So how am I going to say that? And it's hard because at some point it's true. If you work hard, at least you learn more things. But at the same time, we have to tell you that the game is rigged. So know that and do whatever you have to do. I'm not gonna. I know what I'm going to do and what I'm doing, but it's a kind of a personal choice.
How do you think we can attract more teachers to come to Syros?
Oh, that's very easy. Pay them more.
Yeah.
Very easy. Give them more money. Money solves many of life's problems.
That's right.
Yeah. And also it's not just about the teachers being paid enough, it's also about the system, like pay the university more as well, not just the teachers, because if I have to go to a class that fits 80 students and I have to teach 150 students,
Yeah.
it's like, it doesn't make sense. So, it's a much deeper thing. Again, think about like the people who make the most money, like influencers and singers and footballers. I love football. I love basketball. I get it. If you can make $100 million, make $100 million. But it kind of points to how stupid the system is when a person who's really famous, and that's all that is. It's like a vicious circle of fame, makes billions and somehow there is not enough money to go around. When you see the state spend money on stupid shit and then tell you that we cannot pay for that's too expensive, it's kind of infuriating. It as a vocation and it's something that you enjoy doing. But if you find yourself being underpaid, underheard, and in general, in many ways I would say that it's like being in a terrible relationship. If you find yourself in a relationship that's not working and it's causing you problems and pain and trouble, it's a good idea to leave at some point.
Yes.
This is very different from many places because it's an island. It's just there are many things that are tacitly part of living on an island that you kind of have to be on an island to understand. It's and the fact that it's an island poses many challenges, but also gives you many opportunities. So I think solving many of the problems have to do with how we create policy for different places, because you create different policies in an island, you create different policies in a mountainous area, you create different policies in a city. What we try to do is many times we take a policy that worked, for example, in Germany and try to apply it here, and it doesn't work because you're on an island. For example, if you look into the World Bank's development indexes, the Cyclades is never going to be developed, even though it's quite a rich region, because they don't have trains, and having access to train is a very important part of being developed, which doesn't make sense because it's an island, you never have trains. So I think that it's many problems because, for example, the last 3 years the real estate has become super expensive because of Airbnb. So many of our students have to be kicked out of the homes that they're renting for the summer months because it's much more financially logical to have a student for 9 months, turn it an Airbnb for 3 months, and again it's we forget that these are people and they would like to live, and also they're cheap labor for the bars and restaurants that work during the summer. So we want the cheap labor, but we don't want the people, and we don't want to rent to them. It's kind of which is something that's happening throughout Greece and throughout throughout any touristic region. Also, it's gas is becoming more expensive. The boat tickets are becoming more expensive, and the boat schedules are becoming rarer. And imagine that it's a huge psychological barrier, the sea, because. Like imagine that I live in Athens, and I have to go all the way to Amsterdam. I can drive, I can get in my car and go there. Here, I am at the mercy of the shipping companies' schedules. I cannot leave. If something happens and I have to go, I can't just start swimming and go away. So I think that there are many problems imposed by the islands, and we have to think of solutions that work in this context of Syros, not just take what works for the USA and apply it here, because that will fail. And also I think it's some people enjoy small places, some people don't. If you're challenges and opportunities. If you're a young scientist trying to make his way to the world, you need access to cutting edge labs and people and money, which we have almost none of those here. So it has to be a labor of love to stay here and work here, and at some point, love tends to run out, so that's kind of a problem.
I learned a lot from this app. We came across a lot of problems during the interviews. One is that nowadays it is hard to engage students since they have easier access to information through the internet. They start asking themselves, why do I need to know this useless information if I can just Google it? That is why it might be a hard time for the teachers.
Since 2015, and it has been great actually. I've come from a smaller place in Greece, but not smaller, actually smaller from the big cities of Greece that maybe some of you know. Like I'm from Larissa, which is not really a small town, but yeah, it's a smaller place. You don't have many things to do, you improvise, you actually have to make friendships with people even you never thought you can communicate in any other context or place. But it has been a very nice experience. It's really different now that I'm a candidate. It's a whole new experience as I'm not a student, and I don't have the same things to discuss with the people around me. Most of the people living in Syros are at the age of 18 to 25. So, like I'm 25 now. It's not relatable to talk with people at a younger age, which is a problem that now I face. But again, it's something that I chose to do. I chose to become a PhD candidate, to continue my studies for at least 3 years. So I guess I need to rethink how I'm going to recreate my social life and find, I guess, people that are older or maybe younger again. We can find. Actually, upstairs we are doing a workshop based in the new era of the university in the future, not the future of the university, which is actually how is this different from the fact that how we want to change the university, how we want to be in that university in the future. So actually we're more likely, what I was thinking and what I was proposing is that maybe I would like, after COVID, university has become a very different place. there are not as many students as you might as well think. Even if it's a weekend, people came here to work in the lab, in the computers. Now the only people you might see are like researchers walking around like ghosts, and that's mostly most of my days. Like, as you can see, this place is more like an underground base, which we work alone. What I would like to work on is how to be more engaged, to help people be again more engaged with the university and create the campus that is again active, which I had in the first years in my life here. It's really important that as people, when they're active in this place, they feel like they take ownership in this building and in this constitution, more than a building. It's more than a building, more than the chairs, the desks, the people. They create ideas, they become person of their own. They are not just students. Like, I feel like the people now come and go from the lessons like it's obligatory to be here, but it's not. It's actually a choice that you made to spend the next 5 years, as we are a 5-year program, to spend it here. So you should make something fun out of it. You should create experiences, events, knowledge, of course, experiment, and we are already a very open society, very where you can freely express yourself and find who you want to be, as university should be. So why not take advantage of that and actually do that, create experiences for everyone.
This teacher had a different point of view.
I was born here and I grew up here, but then I left. I went to Thessaloniki to study, and I was gone for 7 years in total.
Why did you leave?
Because I wanted to study something, firstly, which I couldn't do here, but also the small community was not a fit for me at that time. I really wanted to explore something different.
Do you feel like many teachers like you are leaving the island for more opportunities?
I think that they do it at the beginning of their career because they don't have a lot of options here. But I know a lot of teachers who choose to come back when they have the chance. So they want to return, but they can't start their career from here. Well, the funny thing is that the books haven't changed. For the last maybe 30 years we have the same books. But I want to believe that the style has changed. For example, I'm teaching biology and geography. So I am trying to teach both subjects in a way that is not as boring as it used to be when I was like a student. So I try to make it more interactive, but sometimes it's difficult because we have to study and learn things that happened 30 years ago. And the books aren't like renewed, they don't have new information, so it's difficult to talk about something that happened 30 years ago as a huge success. So they talk, for example, about technology and stuff, and it's really old. The students know it better than me, for example. So, well, they are supposed to change the books over the next few years, so that's gonna be good when it happens.
Great.
And I hope more things change that way. It's gonna be easier for the teachers to make the subjects more interesting. In general, it's good. It could be beneficial because you can really know the students very well, because maybe you have them for several years. So I take a child from the first year of middle school, and we will be 6 years together. So when you have this contact, you can understand them better, really help them. So I think that it makes it a little bit easier, both for the student and the teacher. But in general, I feel like it's the pace of life that is a little bit slower here. So if somebody prefers to be in a calm and quiet place, which also has some options, like in comparison to other islands, for example, I think it's a really good option. And I know that many teachers who apply to be in public schools put Syros as one of their first choices. Because if you think about the rest of the islands that we have all around, we have the most life during the winter, more options, more opportunities. So I think that's why it could be, yeah.
Yes.
But I think there are a few difficulties as well, reasons why somebody wouldn't want to come here, or that they came here but that in the end they realized that they didn't like it, is exactly because it's a small community. So I know the student and I know their parents, I know their grandparents, where they work, what happened last year with his younger daughter or sister, or I don't know. So it's very complicated because it's difficult to take away just the person and not think about the family around him or around her. So for me, this was a really huge thing in the school because as I told you, I started this year and the rest of the professors already knew the students. So I went and they made me like a little bit prejudged about some things.
Yeah,
so when you introduce me Kostas with his mom who has this shop and his dad who is a doctor, it's difficult for me to separate those. And whatever you do outside of school in your free time or anything, everybody will find out. So that's for me the biggest problem, because you need to be a professor and like really be serious, and I understand that it's a very important job, but you should be able to have a life as well, and not anything you do everybody should know.
So it's personal, but sometimes too personal.
Yeah, it can be very personal, and this was one of the problems why at the beginning I wanted to leave from Syros, because when I was a student, of course everything I did, my parents and everybody I knew also found out. So it comes back to me now in the other way. Like a new, I don't know how to call it, thing in Greek universities which are all public. What? Yeah, it's actually like a law now that inside the university property there will be also outside, like patrolling, there will be a specially trained like group of policemen who will like supposedly protect the students. Also they are planning like to put some cameras and like to monitor really well everything that happens in the university, which for us is like a really big mistake, because universities are like, you can enter a class even if it's not your class. Like it has been really free. Like if you are interested in something, you can just go enter an amphitheater and watch the lecture. Also, like universities are a place where we do a lot of like movie nights, we do a lot of like festivals, a lot of parties, and where we all come together, and this is like the student life of Greece. But if this happens, we're not going to be able to do it anymore. And the cops have been in universities in the bigger cities, like for example in Thessaloniki, where there is a big university, where I have already been a lot of like injuries, because maybe a conflict starts, and there are actually like a lot of videos as well where the policemen drag the students, they have ended up in the hospitals, and we know that this is not going to stop if the policemen don't get out, because they say that they are trying to protect the university, but in reality it's exactly the opposite. Like it will end up with more violence than before. So that's like a really big deal that happens. My life would be very different. Like really, just to know that I am walking in my university and there are policemen around me. It's crazy if you think about it.
Teachers think it can be a good point for them to constantly change places, since every one of them will bring new and different perspectives to the students. However, teachers would like to stay at the same place and get to know their students better, create more personal relationships. The great thing which they mention is that one place might be Syros. Of course, the lack of money is always a problem. We all have problems with money. However, in this case, it is not just about higher salaries for teachers, but also a bigger financial support for schools and universities. Generally, investing more in education might help us create a society with people who are passionate about learning and want to change the world. It seems my work's done here. Aquaman out.